Welcome to the Russian School of Recap. I'm Women's Grandmaster Dina Belenkaya, and this is Prague Chess Festival. There you see AmorimBarbosa who's recording. Okay, what's not working?
Nothing! Everything that I fixed is broken!
This is round 2 of Prague Open, and I am playing against the Grandmaster, Evandro Barbosa from Brazil to the BAM. I am having black pieces. My opponent goes with e4. Guess what I do? Caro-Kann, baby. c6. d4, d5, e5, advanced variation. Bishop f5, of course, the best move. h4, the most principal. I respond with h5. All is okay. Here my opponent does this bishop d3, which I do not consider as being a dangerous move, because basically white changes the most, like, the aggressive piece, which is the bishop, and for black, like, okay, this f5 bishop is my best, but I also trade pieces. And in the advanced Caro-Kann, just like in French, black has less, what's that? Black has less space. So when you have less space, you want to trade. Queen takes, my prep goes with queen a5, knight a2, e6, knight f3. And here, to be honest, I am not sure what is in my files. So I did the most logical move, which was knight to h6. Either I go to g4 or f5. Usually I go to f5 because this is the most, like, logical. Short castle, preparing maybe knight b3, maybe c4, maybe c3, maybe b4, maybe a4. Everything is possible. Knight f5, a4. Okay, what should I do? Well, my opponent at some point wants to push all the pawns, so I figure out the best I can do is to play queen a6, because for now, before the knight goes to b3, after queen a6, white could have gotten queen d1. But if I do it right away with the knight on d2, this queen, check it, has nowhere to go. And once again, black has less space because of the e5 pawn, so black wants to trade. My opponent says you and goes c4. I'm like, bro, if I take, you take with a knight, that's what you want. But if I don't take, what do you want? This pawn is pinned. And you know, in the Russian school of chess, we say, do not bring your opponent pieces into the fight too early. So I'm like, two options. First thing that comes to my mind is actually a very good move. Bishop e7, attacking the h4, and whilst the knight is still on d2, the bishop cannot go to g5, which is what they want. So the only move would be here to play g3, unless they want to sack the pawn, like. But g3 would have been good for me. But if they want to sack the pawn and go queen c2, I cannot take right away because there is this threat. If I take with a pawn, let's say like I took something, they took on d5. I'm gonna show you, like, because I know I read the comments in the recap. I know what you say. This is so confusing. Can you please add the 2D board? Well, guess what? If I manage to find an editor, then you will have here or here the 2D board. If I don't, then I'm so sorry. I don't have an editor. So imagine I take the knight on h4. White goes c takes d5. And if c takes d5, then queen c8, mate! No, it's not a mate. The bishop d8, and then we take the knight. Okay, there's probably some trades over here, so nasty, nasty. Even if we don't, I know you didn't understand anything, that's fine. But if I take with the pawn, then it's also kind of nasty here with the pawn, because there are these squares. I honestly don't know. I didn't like that. I was wrong, because I don't have to take on h4. If queen c2, then I just castle and I'm already better.
Okay.
But unfortunately, I didn't play bishop e7, which would have been better. I played the move because my hands were snitching. We say it. When your hands are snitching, scratching, you want to do something. And I saw it and I wanted to do that. I don't know if you can see that, but oh my goodness, c5 is such a juicy move. Like, literally, I want to put the knight on c6 and I want to develop everything fast and attack d4 and the c4, and my opponent cannot do anything. Like, this c pawn on the c4, it spins. If they take on c5, then I develop my bishop, and it's perfect for me. And these two, d4 and b4, are the key squares. If queen goes to c3, then I just take with a tempo. If queen goes to c2, then I go knight c6, and on c takes d5, I take knight d4 with a tempo. So this is good. The only move that white has here is queen b1. But this is just so passive. Who would on earth play queen b1? Like, seriously. Well, my opponent did. That's crazy. My opponent played queen b1. After 30 minutes of thinking, I had enough time to do all my makeup, order a soup at the bar, and eat my soup, and then come back with a coffee. And he still hasn't played that move. But when he played it, I was like, do what? Okay, here is the problem. I realized I have so many good options that I just don't know what to choose. There is c takes d4, there is d takes c4, there is knight c6, there is knight takes d4, there is bishop e7, there is everything. So I won't go too much into details of what should I have done. I'll just show you what happened in the game. I developed the knight, and I expected c takes d5. He didn't do that. Instead, he played d takes c5. The best would have been d takes c4, not to give a pawn. But who am I to not sacrifice a pawn? I'm women's Grandmaster Dina Belenkaya, and it is my signature to sacrifice pawns, especially against Grandmasters. You guys might not know, but last year I beat not one, but 2 Grandmasters in Reykjavik Open by sacrificing pawns. This is literally what I do in every game. So bishop c5, c takes d5, I sack the pawn, and what did I do here? Knight d4 or knight b4. I chose knight b4 because I wanted to trap the queen. d6. Another option would have been to take and pawn takes, but d6, that's fine. Actually, my opponent didn't do d6. Knight e4, attacking the bishop. I protect, develop the rook to the game, and d6. And I did what everybody was waiting for me to do. The whole Twitch chat went wild. Please, Dina, do that. Play the king to d7. King to the game. King to d7. I did it. Because the king is the best blockader. Well, the only issue is that the king is the best blockader in the endgame. Not when the queens are on the board. It's pretty dangerous. Bishop d2. That's a strong move. Queen d6, because I need to protect the knight. Knight takes, rook takes, bishop takes, queen takes. Here my opponent did something that I did not expect at all. I think he didn't do that, no. a5, queen b5, and queen d1. I didn't expect that. I played the best move, knight d3. Now, bishop c3. Idea is to play queen d2, maybe queen f4, maybe queen g5, maybe queen e7 checkmate, and bring the rook. Well, for now there's a knight, but this knight is gonna be a target. I do a6, queen d2. I do bishop a7, rook, very important, a to d1, and not f to d1, because f2 needs to be protected. So rook a to d1. The only move is to bring the knight back. Knight c5, knight takes c5, and I take with the queen. In the high side, it would have been better to take with the bishop, but I took with the queen, queen f4, queen c4, and now bishop to d4. Very strong. The idea is that if I take, the knight takes, and this knight is going to be traded. And I cannot take back, because then the queen goes to f7. So now you see, had I taken with a bishop back then, I would have been able to remove the bishop from the trade and not let the knight come to d4. But here my bishop is attacked, and I have to do something. it would have been the best to play queen b4. Instead, I played this very unnecessary rook e8 because I thought that the threat was queen g5, and if I take the bishop, then queen comes to e7. But that wasn't a threat, because if queen b4, queen g5, bishop takes, knight takes, I can in fact take the knight, and then if queen e7 and king c6. To be honest, it's probably still really bad for black, but here I have an extra knight, and who knows, maybe my opponent would not have gone here. Like d7 doesn't work because the queen is pinned, you see, from the other queen. So, well, in general, there is this rule in the Russian School of Chess, of course, which says do not put your rooks in front of pawns. And when I played this, it was putting the rook in front of the pawn. g3, super strong, and now my bishop is attacked. Like, the queen is protected, so this bishop on d4 can move and take my bishop. So I have to take, knight takes, and now he wants to take my knight. So I do this little queen b4. He goes queen f3, threatening to take on f5, finally, and not trade the queens. I protect my knight, meaning my pawn, and after rook d3, I don't see any threats. I don't see any defense from rook b3. Simply nothing to do. I play rook c5, thinking that on rook b3 I can do knight d4, but here goes one move tactic, queen f7 check, and next move rook takes queen. Boom. So I take the knight. Hey, I won a knight against the Grandmaster. Pause the video to find how white wins this game. You didn't pause the video. That's fine. Queen b7 check, king d8, queen b8. No, queen b6. Very important. Queen b8 is bad because of rook c8. So queen b6. King d7, queen a7. If king c6, queen b7 check, king d8, rook to b8, only move rook to c8. You got it. Quang, quang, quang. Queen c7 checkmate. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to put the like, subscribe. See you in round 3.